Good day everyone, I'm Charmaine Villaros and today I will discuss the facets of personality, taking control, taking chances, and finding happiness. First one is Julian Rother and his locus of control. He was born in Brooklyn, New York, and the youngest of three brothers. He happened to meet Alfred Adler and switch his major to psychology. He got his PhD from Indiana University in 1951 and Distinguished Scientific Contribution Award from the American Psychological Association in 1963. He is also one of the most eminent psychologists of the 20th century. So let us define what is locus of control before we distinguish the difference between internal and external control of reinforcement. Yung locus of control kasi, yung mga tao naniniwala sila na yung ibang reinforcers nila ay nagde-depend sa own actions nila. Whereas sa ibang tao naman, naniniwala sila na yung mga reinforcers nila ay nakokontrol ng ibang tao or ng mga outside forces. Yung internal locus of control, people believe that the reinforcement they receive is under the control of their own behaviors and abilities. Believe they have a firm grip on their own lives and behave accordingly. Yung mga taong may internal locus of control, nagpe-perform sila sa higher level than external locus of control people. And then, hindi rin sila madaling maimpluwensyahan ng iba at meron silang mataas na pagtingin dun sa kanilang skills and alertness sa environment that they use to guide their behaviors. They report lower anxiety, higher self-esteem, and greater happiness. They enjoy greater mental and physical health than those who are high in external control. Yung external locus of control naman, kabaliktaran siya ng internal locus of control. Dito naman, kaya sinabing external kasi mas nagfo-focus yung mga tao doon sa ibang tao, sa fate, sa lack ng control, sa naniniwala sila na sila ay powerless with respect sa outside forces. And they see little value in exerting any effort to improve their situation. Assessment of locus of control. Rother developed self-report inventories to assess locus of control. The internal-external scale or the IE scale. Meron itong 23 forced choice alternatives. Ngayon, meron siyang each pair, mamimili ka doon ng best describe, best, kung ano yung best na nagdi-describe sa iyong beliefs. For example po natin dun sa number 1, letter A, many of the unhappy things in people's lives are partly due to bad luck. Then letter B, people's misfortunes result from the mistakes they make. So makikita natin dun, yung una, nakafocus siya sa external. Then yung pangalawa, nakafocus siya sa internal. Mamimili ka sa dalawang yan, sa A or B, kung ano yung mas pinapaniwalaan mo as a person. Another scale to assess locus of control is the children's Nowicki-Strickland internal-external scale. It is a widely used 40-item test that has been translated into 24 languages. An adult form of the scale is available, as well as the cartoon version for use with preschool children. Variants of the IE scale measure specific behaviors, such as the relationship between locus of control and factors relating to successful dieting and weight loss, as well as performance in a variety of situations. Age and gender differences. Attempts to control our external environment begin in infancy. becoming pronounced between ages 8 and 14. College students generally have been found to show an internal rather than external orientation. A study of 14 and 15-year-olds in Norway found that girls scored significantly higher than boys did on internal locus of control. People apparently become more internally oriented as they grow older, reaching a peak in middle age. A study of men and women in the United States, ages 60 to 75, found that their internal locus of control was significantly improved by cognitive training. So, dun sa mga studies na kinandak ng mga researchers sa iba't ibang bansa at sa iba't ibang age group, nagkakaroon ng iba't ibang result. Like for example po, sa United States, walang nakitang significant difference between dun sa adult men and women sa overall score nila sa IE scale. Pero sa England, sa ages 18 to 29, sinasabi doon na yung mga women, meron tayong more external control than men. Pero sa China, sinasabi naman doon na yung mga lalaki, meron silang higher score than women in terms of internal control. Then, sa cultural differences naman, doon tayo pumunta sa ethnic group comparisons. Halimbawa, sa Africa, yung mga native Africans doon, like American-born blacks in general, scored higher in external locus of control than American-born or yung mga white. Ngayon, African nation of Botswana, yung mga black male and female adolescents, mas mataas yung kanilang score sa external locus of control kesa sa mga white adolescents sa United States. When comparing Africa and United States naman, yung mga teenagers nila dun, yung mga teens na higher sa socio-economic status yung kanilang family, meron silang mataas na internal control kaysa dun sa mga teens na lower sa socio-economic status. Sa Caucasian, Hispanic, and Asia and African American teenagers naman, comparison siya ng about sa internal locus of control. Comparison ito ng mga adolescent, lumabas doon sa IE scale na sa Caucasian, mas importante sa kanila yung magkaroon sila ng higher internal locus of control compared sa Hispanic, sa Asian, and sa African American teenagers. Comparison din between sa mga native-born people sa Netherlands versus sa mga immigrants nila, sinasabi doon na mas mataas ang external locus of control nung mga immigrants kaysa dun sa mga natives. Then sa research naman sa Hispanic immigrants sa United States, sinasabi doon na may mataas na internal locus of control. Yung may mga mataas ang internal locus of control ay mas effective sila sa pag-adapt sa mga demands ng bagong culture. Mas adaptable sila or mas kaya nilang umadapt at kaya nilang mag-deal dun sa mga effects ng discrimination or being marginalized. Collectivist versus individualistic cultural differences. Sa Asian, tayo mga Asian, family-oriented tayo. Kaya dun sa study, lumalabas yun na yung mga Asian, we are more externally oriented than Americans. A finding that may be explained in terms of different cultural beliefs. Success is viewed more as a product of external than internal factors. Sa American culture naman, kasi 'di ba may mga tradition sila doon na kapag 18 years old ka na, aalis ka na sa bahay nyo. So, mas nagiging independent yung mga Americans compare sa mga Asians na tayo ay family-oriented na kahit mag-asawa na tayo or meron tayong mga tinatawag na mga extended family. Sa American kasi, yung culture nila dun, self-reliance and individualism. Unlike sa Asian culture natin na tayo ay ine-emphasize natin ang collectivism, community reliance, and interdependence natin. A large-scale comparison of 18 cultures confirmed that people in collectivist cultures, such as China, scored higher in external control than those in westernized countries who placed a greater value on having an internal locus of control. Tatandaan lang natin na basta pag internal locus of control, it's all about ourselves. Ngayon naman, pag external locus of control, mas pinaniniwalaan natin yung mga external factors kesa doon sa sarili natin. Behavioral differences. Kapag sa internal locus of control, mas nakaka-adapt sila sa change at mas mataas yung score nila sa mental skills than dun sa mga taong may external locus of control. Meron din silang positive thinking or positive result when compared to job satisfaction, job commitment, and general satisfaction with life. They are more likely to persist in an online college program than those who scored low in internal academic locus of control. Were far less likely to become addicted to internet use than those who scored low in internal academic locus of control. Sa collective locus of control, results showed that teams showing the highest internal locus of control performed at a far more efficient and effective level than teams lower in internal control. Sa mental health differences naman, dito sa internal locus of control, ang sinasabi lang dito, mas kayang kontrolin ng mga taong may internal locus of control yung kanilang mga emotional problems, mas kaya nilang mag-cope sa stress, at mas kaya nilang mag-adjust dun kesa sa mga tao na merong external locus of control. They experience less anxiety and depression, are less likely to be lonely or attempt suicide, and find greater meaning in life. They show higher levels of mental health, experience more meaningful lives, and score higher on measures of subjective well-being than those high in external control. Kapag naman external locus of control, higher levels of work-related stress and burnout. They are more prone to fantasies, anxiety, depression, fear of death on the job, psychotic episodes, and hopelessness. More likely to become victims of cyberbullying than those high in internal control. Far more indecisive in new situations than those high in internal locus of control. And they are associated with compulsive hoarding behavior. In terms naman po sa physical health differences, kapag ikaw ay tao na mayroong internal locus of control, sinasabi sa mga study na you are physically healthier kaysa dun sa mga taong externally oriented people. At lower din yung risk mo ng heart attacks and to have lower blood pressure. Mas maingat ka din sa health mo. Like for example, yung mga taong may mataas na internal locus of control, they are more likely to wear seatbelts, eat well, exercise regularly, and quit smoking. Kapag naman mas mataas yung external locus of control mo in terms sa health natin, mas naniniwala ka dun sa mga doctors or dun sa mga experts compare dun sa mga mas mataas ang internal locus of control. Sa yung research sa Sweden, nakita nila doon na 1/3 ng mga older people with little formal education and immigrant groups all scored low in internal health locus of control. Developing locus of control in childhood. Meron yung learned, yung locus of control kasi, locus of control, natututunan na natin siya sa childhood and is directly related to parental behavior. Dun sa mga taong merong internal locus of control, pinalaki sila na yung family nila, they are highly supportive, offer praise, halimbawa yung sa positive reinforcement kapag nagkakaroon ng achievement yung isang bata, consistent sila sa pagdidisiplina, and they are not authoritarian. Parents continued to foster an internal orientation by encouraging independence. Then yung may mga external locus of control naman, expressed by children reared in homes without an adult male role model, tend to increase with the number of siblings. Children whose mothers are depressed and have little formal education or income. Children raised in low-income families have a lower sense of control in all aspects of their lives than children from higher-income families. So these are the highlights on the research of Rutter's ideas, locus of control. So dito, pag may high internal locus of control ka, people lived in wealthy individualistic cultures, mas nagpe-perform sila ng maayos sa school, mas hindi sila addicted sa internet, may mataas silang job satisfaction and life satisfaction, mas mababa ang anxiety and depression level nila kasi mas kaya nilang mag-cope sa stress, and they are physically healthy, and may mga parents sila na nagpalaki sa kanila na may mataas ding internal locus of control. Reflections on locus of control. Rutter's concept of locus of control. It can be generalized over many situations and has been highly rigorous and well-controlled, and he used objective measures whenever possible. Studies have provided considerable empirical support. The IE scale has generated a wealth of research and has been applied in clinical and educational settings. Rutter noted that locus of control has become one of the most studied variables in psychology. Well into the second decade of first century, locus of control continues to be the subject of research. A large-scale research program using both college students and sales representatives as subjects reported a strong relationship between Rutter's concept of locus of control and Bandura's concept of self-efficacy. Some researchers have suggested that both ideas deal with our perception or belief about the degree of control we have over events in our life and our ability to cope with them. Ang isa sa mga major differences ng dalawa ay yung kay Bandura, it is specific to a particular situation. Beliefs about whether one can produce certain actions, like perceived self-efficacy, cannot, by any stretch of the imagination, be considered the same as beliefs about whether actions affect outcomes. Ayan, so, sa locus of control po, based dun sa diniscuss kanina, maa-assume natin na mas maganda talaga kung tayo ay merong high internal locus of control compared dun sa mga taong merong high external locus of control. Next is Marvin Zuckerman and his sensation seeking. Beginning in the 1970s, psychologist Marvin Zuckerman sa University ng Delaware ay nag-conduct ng isang research sa isang limited domain aspect of personality na tinatawag niyang sensation seeking. Sensation seeking is the desire for varied, novel, complex, and intense sensations and experience, and the willingness to take physical, social, legal, and financial risks for the sake of such experience. We might call it simply taking chances. Assessing sensation seeking. To measure sensation seeking, Zuckerman constructed the Sensation Seeking Scale or the SSS. It is a 40-item paper and pencil questionnaire. When developing this test, he administered it to many people whose behavior corresponded to his definition of sensation seeking. These people includes volunteer for psychological experiments that expose them to novel experiences, people whose jobs involve physical danger like the police officers and race car drivers, and people who admitted to experimenting with drugs or varied sexual experiences. Yung SSS, ini-scorean siya compare dun sa mga tao na mas mababa yung risky activities na ginagawa nila. Those who deliberately sought unusual activities scored high on the SSS. So kapag mataas kapag mas madami kang risky activities na ginagawa or kapag mas mataas yung sensation seeking mo, mas mataas yung iyong, kapag ikaw ay nagsisik ng mga risky activities, mas mataas yung iyong magiging score sa SSS. Kabaliktaran naman kapag less venturesome yung mga activities mo, magkakaroon ka ng low score sa SSS. So ito po yung mga sample na mga sentences. Sample items po yan dun sa SSS ni Marvin Zuckerman. Like for example, dito sa number 1, mamimili ka sa letter A or sa letter B. Like for example, yung letter A, I like wild, uninhibited parties. Then B, I prefer quiet parties with good conversation. So, mamimili ka dyan kung letter A or letter B yung iyong preferred. Components of sensation seeking. Using the method of factor analysis, Zuckerman identified 4 components of sensation seeking. Yun yung thrill and adventure seeking, experience seeking, disinhibition, and boredom susceptibility. Dun sa thrill and adventure seeking, papasok dito yung engagement natin sa physical activities, involving speed, danger, novelty, and defiance of gravity. Yung parachuting, scuba diving, or bungee jumping. Sa experience-seeking naman, travel, music, art, and non-conformist lifestyle with similarly inclined people. Sa disinhibition naman, gusto natin yung mga risky things, impulsiveness, aggressiveness, and anti-social behavior. Kapag boredom susceptibility naman, ayaw nila yung paulit-ulit na experience or yung mga routine works, predictable people, and reaction of restless discontent when exposed to such situations. Good and bad sensation seeking. The good type or the non-impulsive socialized sensation seeking involves thrill and adventure seeking component. Yung bad type naman nyo or the impulsive unsocialized sensation seeking, sila yung nagpo-portray ng disinhibition, experience seeking, and boredom susceptibility components. Characteristics of sensation seekers. Sa age difference natin, it occurs at a very young age, and in general, yung mga younger people, they are more inclined to seek adventure, risk, and novel experiences than older people. But in some studies, no significant differences were reported as a function of educational level. Zuckerman's sensation-seeking experience. The research results on the effects of age on sensation-seeking were confirmed by Zuckerman's own life experiences. He said that when he was a college student, he reached his full sensation-seeking potential through drinking, sex, and hitchhiking around the country. Ngayon, nung 74 years old na siya, Sinabi niya na, when I was a young sensation seeker, I imagined that after I retired, I would do all kinds of adventurous things like hang gliding, parachute jumping, and learning to fly an airplane. But whereas thrill and adventure seeking and disinhibition fall rapidly with age, experience seeking does not change. Zuckerman reports that he continues to seek new experiences, but they are less physically adventurous than when he was younger. Next is gender differences. In countries as diverse as the United States and Iran, men consistently scored higher in sensation-seeking and lower in impulse control than women. Doon naman sa result ng mga men, mas mataas yung kanilang score dun sa thrill and adventure seeking, disinhibition, and boredom susceptibility. Kapag babae naman, higher yung score niya sa experience seeking. Racial and cultural differences. Researchers found significant racial and cultural differences in SSS scores. Asians scored lower on the SSS than people in Western countries, and white subjects scored higher in sensation-seeking than non-whites. Behavioral differences between high and low sensation seekers. When it comes to physical risk taking, it has been related to sensation seeking, like skydivers, firefighters, riot control police officers, bungee jumpers, and race car drivers. Mataas yung mga score nila dun sa SSS compare dun sa mga tao or sa mga group ng tao na hindi nag-engage dun sa mga activities na nabanggit kanina. Yung study sa American motocross drivers, yung mga most experienced or yung mga mas madami ng nasalihan na mga races, mas mataas yung score nila dun sa sensation seeking. Dun naman sa different types of risk taking, may tinatawag tayong antisocial, adventurous, and pro-social risk takers. Kapag sinabi nating antisocial, ito yung mga drug addict and criminals. Kapag adventurous naman, yung mga mountain climbers and skydivers. Pag pro-social risk takers naman, tulad ng mga police officers and firefighters, sa SSS, mas mataas ang score ng mga antisocial and mga adventurous compare sa pro-social risk takers. Yung mga mataas din ang result sa SSS, based sa study, mas willing sila na ma-relocate from a familiar to unfamiliar surroundings or mag-travel dun sa mga untraveled places or dun sa mga exotic places kahit na alam nila na yung journey nila ay dangerous at merong physical hazards. High sensation seekers. They are more likely than low sensation seekers to use and sell illicit drugs and to do so at an earlier age, to drink alcoholic beverages, to shoplift, and to commit delinquent behavior. Greater sexual risk-taking behavior, such as more instances of intercourse with more partners and less use of condoms than those who scored low. More likely to cross a street on foot against a red light. They show a preference for so-called hot colors such as red and orange rather than pastels such as light blue. Had tattoos and body piercings than low sensation seekers. More likely to cheat on academic tests than those who scored low. They are more likely to become obsessed with computer games and internet use. Frequently use their workplace computer for personal reasons such as sending emails, playing computer games, and viewing websites with sexual content. A study of 233 low-level employees in the United States, they scored lower on job performance than low sensation seekers. They are less likely to establish social relationships at their place of employment or to try to obtain information from coworkers or supervisors. Researchers suggested that such lower level jobs might not be sufficiently stimulating for high sensation seekers. Personality differences. Zuckerman and other researchers correlated sensation-seeking score with a number of distinct personality factors. At nakita nila dun yung SSS factors, particularly on distribution, ay related dun sa async factor of extraversion and to the asocial tendencies associated with psychoticism. At dahil sa result na to, sinuggest ni Zuckerman na kapag high sensation seekers ay mga egocentrically extroverted. Ang ibig sabihin noon, they are concerned with other people only as an audience or a source of stimulation at hindi nila nire-relate yung ibang tao in a dependent or nurturing way. Kapag mataas yung result ng SSS mo, ibig sabihin meron kang high degree of autonomy and mas open kang mag-express ng emotions mo compared dun sa mga nakakuha ng low score sa SSS. They are also assertive in relating to others, non-conforming and confirmed risk takers. They act independently on social conventions, governed primarily by their own needs. They order their lives to maximize opportunities for self-fulfillment. Kaya naman sila nagiging risk takers or kaya mas nakafocus sila dun sa sensation seeking nila kasi gusto nila ng self-fulfillment. Kasi yun yung makakapag-fulfilled sa kanila, dun sa sensation seeking nila. Cognitive processes. Yung mga bata na merong mataas na SSS result, pinapakita dun sa mga studies na hindi ganun kaganda yung mga nagiging result ng mga grades nila or mas mababa yung na-attain nilang grades compared dun sa mga estudyante na mas mababa ang SSS result. Ang sinasabi nilang dahilan dun kasi mas involved sila, mas gusto nilang ma-involve dun sa mga active recreational pursuits kesa mag-aral. Pero in terms doon sa creativeness, mas creative yung mga estudyante